Welcome to the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast, where business owners, thought leaders, and community champions from across Central Illinois come to share their story. The Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. Anything less would be uncivilized.
What's up, Central Illinois? It's Derek Hayden. I'm here with Garrett Ulmer. We are your hosts for the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast, powered by Zambu. Zambu is a delicious grapefruit or wildberry vodka-based spirit infused with a Brazilian buzz button. It's smooth, tasty, and leaves you with a signature tingle. Learn more at zambuliquors.com. Zambu, taste the tingle. All right, Central Illinois, y'all are in for a treat today. We've got a full house on our hands. So today, we've got the crew from the Central Illinois chapter of the Project Management Institute. With us today is Florence Rene, Pamela Clapp, and Dusty Jenkins. How are y'all doing today?
Doing really good. Thank you for having us.
Awesome.
Yep.
We're excited to have you guys. And this is our first ever episode with 3 guests. So you get the official, I guess, gold star for having 3 people represent the organization.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
yep.
Or high. That's right.
Well, great. Well, so if y'all have ever watched or listened to the Central Illinois Business Podcast before, we usually kick it off with what we call it our speed round. And since there's 3 of you, what I thought Garrett could do is do a kind of a round robin and go person to person. And you each can give us an answer. I guess there'll be 2 questions for each person. So Garrett, go ahead and kick it off with our speed round so our listeners can get a better idea of who our guests are today.
Absolutely. So just so we can make you nervous, who would like to answer question number 1? You want me to pick? All right. Pamela steps on up. What was the first concert that you ever attended?
I would say Kelly Clarkson.
Kelly Clarkson. We haven't had that one yet.
I like
so
it.
I'll just go in a row here. Dusty, you're up next. Favorite movie?
Christmas Vacation.
Great choice.
Nice.
Yep.
Florence, your favorite ice cream flavor?
Chocolate.
There we go.
All right. We're back to the top. Pamela, iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Dusty, favorite social media platform?
Instagram.
Okay. And now this one, I'll let you all kind of chime in on. Why Central Illinois?
Family and friends.
Yeah, it's home for me.
Great choice.
And Florence.
I came here to work. I'm from Jersey.
There we go.
You can guess who brought me down here too.
Well, we are happy to have you in Central Illinois. So, and we're happy to have you all on here as guests. And as I mentioned in the intro, you all are from the Central Illinois chapter of the Project Management Institute. So before we start asking too many questions, what in the world is project management and what is the Project Management Institute? I'll let you guys fight over who's going to explain that to us. So
For sure. So I can take that. So project management is a set of tools or methodologies that we use to basically get something from creation or ideation all the way to implementation, and hand it off so that it can just live its life. So if you think about large things like going to space, right? We got project managers on there building a house. There's construction project managers, your roadways. There are project managers doing that work all over the place. I project manage my vacations because that's who I am at the heart. Right? We're going to plan and then we're going to do something. The Project Management Institute here in Central Illinois is an offshoot of the Global Project Management Institute. And so we have chapters all over the world. In fact, tonight I'm actually talking to Cebu in the Philippines. So we are a global company, PMI. And so we here local are trying to give back to the project managers or project professionals in the area, making sure we're bringing them education, we're bringing them speakers so that they can continue to learn, just connecting. So sometimes we have after hour events, we go out to dinner, we've done paint nights, touring, local breweries. So lots of fun connecting with like-minded people that kind of have our own little quirks of getting things done. So it's a great little organization to be a part of. Dusty or Florence, do you have anything you would add to that?
You said everything. Perfect.
You covered it well.
Very
Not
nice.
Yes.
Yes. So PMI, we mentioned you're in the Central Illinois chapter. Tell us about where PMI is. Obviously, there's a Central Illinois chapter, but where are the other chapters? Is it just a state thing, or how big is PMI?
PMI is huge. I think there are 300 local chapters across the globe. Last count I remember seeing was 774,000 project managers, but I think that's a pretty outdated number 4 or 5 years ago. So I mean, they're all over the world, really in every different industry that you can think of. There's project managers that are working, even if they don't have the job title necessarily. They may be doing project work, either as a business analyst or maybe as a scrum master, but doing some sort of project management.
Gotcha.
I'll add one comment. In Illinois, there are 2 chapters. So there's Chicagoland and then there's us. So anything that Chicagoland does not cover, then Central Illinois chapter covers. So basically Central Illinois all the way down to Southern Illinois. That's our chapter.
Gotcha.
Very cool.
And if it was something that I wanted to become a part of as a project manager, do you guys normally reach out to them, or will they sometimes reach out to you to kind of become part of the group?
Yeah, so we have a website. It's PMI-CIC.org, and they are welcome to come out there and reach out to us. You can become a member on our website. There is a small fee associated, but really it's through word of mouth and people coming to us. I'm always happy, and so is Dusty and Florence. We have a lot of conversations with people. I get a lot of emails, just connecting with people, or we're doing things like this and getting out in the community. I was at a basketball game not too long ago, and I heard someone say waterfall and agile behind me, and I was like, those are project management methodologies. Then I turned around and I said, hi, I'm Pam. I'm from PMI Central Illinois. We need to connect. So, sometimes it's just in the random places that you connect with each other.
That's awesome.
That's true. I think that's a business in general. It's crazy how you run into people in different situations. Like Dusty is from right up the road from where we're from in Sullivan, and yeah, that's kind of cool. So
yeah.
I know, Pamela, you mentioned some of the examples of where project managers are involved. So you mentioned building houses, going to space. What are some of the projects, maybe you three or groups that you've been in? What are some of the projects, example wise, that you've worked on that you can give our listeners kind of an idea of, what you've been hands-on with?
Yeah, so I actually work in healthcare, which is none of those examples that I gave. And so I think you would assume, due to the pandemic, we have had lots of projects that have been very specific to that. So what I've seen at my organization specifically, getting drive-up clinics, right? Vaccination clinics going, those all need project managers, especially in the cold. And we needed buildings within weeks. We needed the staff, the IT infrastructure. You need to make sure you were up to code. There are a lot of people that had to do that, right? And so those are examples of currently the things that we're doing. Luckily, we're coming into an endemic stage, so hopefully we won't have so many of those for that. But those would be the ones that I think are on top of mind for me right now.
Awesome.
I would
Go ahead,
split
Dusty.
my career up into 3 chunks. My first dip into project management right out of college. Honestly, I had no idea what I was doing, but luckily I had some great mentors that worked around me and just kind of told me what to do. Later on in life, when I went through and got my PMP certification, I got the foundation of understanding why I was doing what I was doing. But that was building Walmart stores back in the early 2000s. So they were big construction projects. And then later on, I came to where I'm at now, an insurance company. And I did a lot of software implementation projects. So it was like managing a lot of stakeholders to figure out all of their needs, and then finding a vendor that met all those needs and getting through all the contract work and negotiations, and then finally doing like the implementation stage of the project and change management and communications and everything that goes along with it. And then my current role, I'm focused more on changes that affect insurance agents. So there's like other people that are doing software changes or some sort of change that affects insurance agents. And so my projects are typically centered around making sure they understand what we're doing and get the right training on it, understand the why behind what we're doing, and know what to do once it hits them.
Awesome. So it sounds like if you're looking for an organized person, the PMI group is the place to go.
It can be true at times.
I would say that is one of our fundamental skills, is we like to organize things.
Yeah.
I need to give my wife your name, because she is my personal organizer. I'd lose my head, if it wasn't connected. So she's definitely fits the mold for, a PMI person, it sounds like. So
it's awesome.
Probably. I think one of the things, the like pitfalls that I see people go into all the time, if they're not familiar with project work in general, is they just dive straight into doing. They totally skip the first part of, which is initiation and planning, which is where you figure out what's my budget, what am I really trying to accomplish here. But instead they just find the shiny thing and they just run for it. And sometimes that works, but not always.
I'm trying to tell if Derek relates with what you just said.
I was gonna say, Garrett, does that sound familiar to you?
100%.
Might be both of us.
Pretty common.
Yep, that pretty much, if you look up my name in the dictionary, that would be the definition of my focal point. Is I think of something and it's like a squirrel moment. I just go.
Yep.
And
No,
like you said, I maybe should have planned a few of the things I've done in the past out better than I did. But hey,
I think that's about how the start of the podcast came about.
Exactly.
I remember he walked in, we had done something on a little different scale. But I remember he walked in one Monday morning and he says, "Yep, we're going to do a podcast." I'm like, "Let's sit down and talk about this for a second." He says, "I've already been doing this. We're going." And I'm like, so I just jumped on the horse and we started riding. So,
well, here we are.
Yeah, that's right.
It doesn't mean you can't get to the end point, right? Just sometimes you might take a different route. Someone asked me one time, "How do you explain my job?" And I drew a whole bunch of squiggly lines, and then I drew a straight line.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, that is.
Well, and not every project needs a project manager. So, I mean, that's the other piece of this, is there's a lot of work that people do but it's a project. They're just doing it themselves and they don't need a project manager. But there are certain things that if you don't have one on staff, like the company I work for, it can be beneficial to hire one. And you can hire one just like a consultant, to maybe take something on that you're not familiar with or don't have the time to deal with, or maybe it's just a little too close to your heart.
Yeah,
sure. Effectively.
Well, I know you had mentioned there were some events and different things that you get together as a group. If I was new to it or, wasn't part of the group at this point, how would we find out about that type of stuff? Or, if there's something going on in our area as far as that goes?
I can take that. I'm the VP of publicity for the chapter. So we are on social media. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and I'm targeting hopping on the TikTok train. I know that you guys are one of my followers. I think we have like 2 followers, and you guys were my very first follower.
All right.
So basically, we just try to push our events across all platforms. And of course, we have our website, which is the PMI-CIC.org. And you can kind of go and look at the calendar and see what we're trying to cook up and do for the month. For example, this month happens to be a very active month. We have 3 events, one on the 9th, the other one on the 12th, and then on the 16th. So if you go on PMI-CIC.org, PMI-CIC.org, you can get all the information, registration information that way.
Gotcha. And are most of them, are you trying to get back to in-person stuff, or are most of these virtual?
Right. Right now, since COVID, we've been virtually with all our meetings. And I think that's going to be part of our model going forward, because it's really it worked very well. I'm sure when the time comes for us to do in-person meetings, we will, but for the time being, everything so far has been virtual. We use Zoom. So when you register, we send you the Zoom info, and then you just have a good old time with us. Usually our meetings are about an hour and a half. So they're not really that long.
Okay.
So you can actually hang in there on a Zoom call with us and have a good time.
Yeah. Well, I think we've all adapted today to the virtual world, whether we were ready for it when COVID came around, but it has altered us, and it has made things easy to connect. I mean, it's made that a lot easier for sure. So
organizing is simpler because you don't have to try to find venues, you know, pop up as an online meeting and there you go. And with us too, being a nonprofit, we don't have a big budget. So it really helps with the cost savings, doing everything virtual.
Yeah. No. That's great. So I guess two things off of that, Florence. So TikTok, if you ever figure out how to master TikTok, you'll have to come back on and teach Garrett and I and our listeners how to do that.
Yes.
We still haven't figured it out. Like you said, we've tried to connect with some of the guests we've had and some of our future guests, and we're getting there, but we are far from masters at this point. So you'll have to let us know how that goes.
I sure will. I'm learning too, researching, trying to gather ideas for our premiere. I'm targeting maybe sometime in second quarter, which is coming up soon. So I have to figure out what are we going to do to make a big appearance. So it should be fun.
Awesome. Well, that's great. Well, so you also mentioned that cost savings, the virtual aspect is, obviously you have to pay for a venue. How is PMI funded? How do you get your funding for your projects and for your organization?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We, as members, we all pay a small fee. I believe it's $25 a year to become members. And then the rest of it really is through partnerships that we have. So we have partnerships. I know Dusty mentioned having the PMP. That's a project management professional certification. PMI has multiple certifications for different methodologies and different things like change management and other things. So we actually get, a little bit of money if you attend the class through our preferred providers, which is on our internet or on our website. We also have some partnerships like Florence is doing with our events. Where, you pay a cost to be in it, and then we get a percentage of that. And then the same thing, we do pay our speakers, but some of our speakers do come to us free. We pass that savings on to our members as much as possible, but there is a small nominal fee for our events, and we just work within our budget. We Dave Ramsey it, and we try to be zero-based budget every year. So as COVID has hit us, that has been a challenge, right? We haven't had as many opportunities to do some of those income-based things. But as COVID has hit and our revenue has come down, so did our expenses with not having to fly out speakers, not having to pay for their hotels, things like that. So it's all raised by us, the board and the volunteers that work with us in the events we're able to put on. But our number one goal is to always pass anything, any income, any cost savings that we have down to our chapter members.
Awesome. Very nice. Very nice. So one thing that you mentioned going to space, has anybody actually in the CIC group, Central Illinois chapter, has anybody actually helped? No. Oh man, I was hoping we could talk.
No, but PMI just reached their 50 years right before the pandemic hit. So they've been organization for 50 years, and they did put out the 50 most influential projects. And they did a magazine for it. I went to the 50-year celebration. It was really great. But they did cover space. There was who was it? Did the big AIDS concert. Was that Queen?
Live Aid, is that the?
Live Aid, right?
Yeah.
So Live Aid would be a project that was the most influential. Like, so they had some of these really awesome projects. So that's why space came to me, because we also had that year someone from the space program come talk to us about how they use project managers, right? Like, I don't know how they would get the work done if they didn't.
That's very
Awesome.
cool. So some of your speakers you mentioned, you don't have to be super specific, but what were some of the speakers if someone does want to join an event? Can you give us an example of some of the speakers that you've had recently or even in the past 3 to 5 years that you felt were very valuable?
Kim, do you want me to take that, or do you want to go back in time? Since
You can take that.
Okay, so I'll just talk current month. So for March, we have a very interesting gentleman. He's a law enforcement officer, Michael Laidler. He's also a life coach, like a leadership coach. So he goes around, he has a day job, as a corrections officer for the Federal Bureau of Prison, but he does go around and speak, and he just does very wonderful, like mind-blowing, thought-provoking sessions, and just to kind of get you to be your better version, your best self, because you have to be whole and in order to lead other teams and to work with other people. Because I think as project managers, you have to be able to stand other people and be flexible. And I'm using the word stand because it comes down to being able to interact with them and all that good stuff. So we have Michael Laidler, we have people who are more technical, where they're teaching you different technical skills. Maybe it's a wicked problem solving, maybe it's something more along the lines of I don't know, just something fun. Like Pam said, we have done everything from personal development, like career specific, technical stuff. So the speaker can just be anyone with something to say, with a obviously experience, but as long as you can actually get in front of people and you have something to say and leave an impact, we're interested in hearing from you as a speaker. Pam, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but that's pretty much my take on it.
Yeah, we've had some interesting speakers. One that stood out to me, and I can't remember her name, and I'm sorry for that. Last year, she came and talked about how her career has kind of developed. And so I think for professionals, especially depending on where you're at in your career personally, it's not just about like, oh, what's the latest process that's out there that, those technical skills to do your job, but you as a person, how you can develop, how you manage your career, how do you know when it's time to leave a place and go to the next place so you can go to that next step. And so I think just holistically bringing in people that are going to, throughout the years, help anyone, no matter where they're at in their career, is what's great about it. I've really learned a lot over the last 8 years.
Yeah. So essentially you're looking to try to sharpen the toolbox.
Yep.
And bring a lot of self-awareness.
Yep. And that's why I call it, I say I have this toolkit and I am just trying to build my toolkit with throwing different things in there. Maybe I need to learn more things about financial, whatever, but I just keep building that toolkit.
Yeah.
On the topic of past event, if I can just hop in, if you guys are interested, or anybody who's watching this is interested, you can go on our YouTube page, which is basically PMI Central Illinois chapter, and you can see all prior events that we did. They really run the gamut. It's been like a cross section of everybody.
Okay.
Wow. So those are all recorded and put on your YouTube page then?
Yes.
Awesome. Very nice.
Yeah, if you have a certification like I do, the project or the PMP, you do need continuing education to keep that current. And all of our events, you can earn it's a pretty easy way to earn an hour credit towards that. And you get something great out of it along the way as well.
Sure.
Awesome. So you guys have all been kind of talking about project management, and this may be a tough question to answer, but how does someone know when they should get a project manager involved, I guess you would say? So
So like when Derek walks in with this idea,
as soon as
and
I walk
says-
in the door, just say, call PMI. I don't want to talk.
Yeah.
Just call PMI.
I can
Yeah,
take
so
that. Pam, you want to
go
take it?
ahead. Go ahead.
I think if you are delivering any kind of service to somebody, like a mom and dad, anybody, maybe even a company, like an entity, if you are in the business of delivering something of value, monetary value, for example, and you want to get it right, so you need professionals, and it doesn't have to be a project manager, because I'm in PMI Central Illinois, but I'm not a project manager. I'm a product owner. So you don't have to have the title of a project manager. But I would say if you are delivering value to somebody, anybody, and you have there are risks to everything, you need a professional on your team, basically.
Okay.
And Florence, that's a great thing. You said professional. So we're project professionals. You may be the person who's doing the comms and marketing for the project. You may be the person who's doing the education, doing the technical build, doing the contracts, but we're all project professionals trying to get us to the end goal. And I would say if you see that there's inefficiencies on building something that is new or unique, that's when you call for someone to help lead you through it.
It's a village, basically.
Yeah, it's a big village.
If you're feeling like you're overwhelmed, like you're not sure where to start, or
Yes.
you feel like I need a plan of how to make this happen. I know what I want, but I just don't know how to get from here to here.
Yep.
That's usually a pretty good sign that you should call in some professionals. And like they said, it maybe not to do the entire project. Maybe it's just a piece or a portion of it.
do you guys have a speed dial number?
No.
It's
No.
kind of like the Batman light. You just need to
Yeah.
shine it in the.
That's great. Well, yeah, it sounds like you all are very process oriented, and it takes different people. I mean, like we've talked about, I'm the one who thinks of the idea and then just runs with it, and there's almost no process to it most of the time. So it sounds like you guys give that solution to people that know where they want to go and don't necessarily know where to start and how to get there. So that's definitely a needed service for a lot of businesses. And like you mentioned, Florence, you said you're a product owner. Is that right? Very nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know a lot of businesses, and especially even the ones we've had on our podcast, they, I guess a lot of them kind of fell into figuring it out, but how much quicker, how much more efficient could they have been if they had someone leading the way with the project? And it sounds like you guys do a great job of filling that gap. So
I think the number one discussion we normally have with businesses or business owners is it's always time management. I think it always ends up at that, you've got one individual wearing 20 different hats, and sometimes they forget which one do I need to put on first to get through the day, or that gets interrupted. And before you know it, you're switching hats, trying to get back and forth, and you forget. So yeah, processes and procedures are definitely something that we talk about a lot. So
On
Yeah.
the topic of process and procedures, though, nowadays it's like a dirty word, right? Because we are trying to move away from waterfall, like process heavy, in how we deliver projects. So there's a term called agile. We don't have to get into it, but there is an effort to be less process heavy, to be more flexible and deliver projects in small increments. And it's a whole set of, it's like a science and art all at the same time.
okay.
So yeah.
very nice. Agile. I need to figure out how to be more agile, I guess, in my
There are
my
different
direction.
ways to have your projects, there are so many ways, so many agile methodologies within agile, that as long as you are someone who's flexible, you know what your customer want, you know what you want to do, there's some kind of tool out there in the project management world for you to use.
Okay.
And I think the mark of a true professional in this space is being able to understand all of those methodologies enough to figure out which one applies, which one's going to be the best.
Right.
And I mean, that's what we do. And we need people in this world like you, Derek, who got big ideas. And we don't need you messing around with trying to figure out if you're going to use a Kanban board or build a waterfall project schedule. You can just hire someone else and let them do that. And then you can keep bringing big ideas.
I like that. I like that idea a lot. Very good. So we've mentioned kind of how you're funded, and you mentioned a little bit about sponsors. Tell me about, if there's someone listening that's interested in PMI, wants to know how to get involved and maybe could be a sponsor. Tell us a little bit about your sponsorship opportunities.
Yeah, so I am excited to say that Florence is actually working to redo our sponsorship tiers, but we are in need of sponsors for our chapters. That could look a lot of ways, right? You could sponsor an event. You could sponsor a social gathering. So maybe you want to give us a little bit of money so we can have our members come together and socialize. Maybe you want to sponsor a specific topic, a set of topics. We used to have sponsors that allowed us to use their space for all of our meetings. So someday when we can go back into meeting space, that might be a need again. But if you're wanting to sponsor, we would love to work with you. And again, we have the PMI-CIC.org, and there is a place for sponsors there, and that will connect you with Florence. And she will work with you. And it's not a one size fits all. We'll work with you on what you are willing to help us with and get you plugged in, and we'll get your logo and get it added in the appropriate places. So sponsors would be very helpful. And I will throw in there too, other ways to get involved is one, become a member, right? If you're interested, if you're a project professional and you just need a little bit more support, become a member. It's really easy and there's a lot of benefits from it. I would say that my career has specifically moved probably a little bit faster in the last 8 years because of this chapter, not only from being a member, but being a volunteer. I've learned really, really fast the methodologies, how to apply them, and really trained up really quickly because of my involvement. So become a member, become a volunteer if you want to give back to those people. We give back to people in the community. Dusty's working. How can we connect to colleges and universities around us so that we can start talking to kids? We're working on high school programs because the earlier you know about project management, the better it's going to be. And then that all links back to what our sponsors can help us do.
Yeah, and it sounds like that designation that you talked about too, as you talk to some of those organizations, that's a designation that can help you grow your career, grow your knowledge in the project management space. And I think that all that stuff sounds great, and being a sponsor would be a great way to help build project management in our area. So we are getting close to time, guys, but before we hop off of here, are there any last thoughts or ideas or questions that you have for us?
I'll just throw out so my role as focusing on outreach is to find opportunities to, bring outreach to the Central Illinois area. And with COVID, we used to do a lot in person. And so we've really sort of fallen off with some of the outreach we did. So I'm currently looking for areas where I can provide services of education or information, or, like one of the examples that was mentioned was going to colleges and maybe doing a speaker panel over lunch to just give information about this profession to students who may not have otherwise been exposed to it. Pam mentioned earlier, an event we have tonight is in the Philippines. That's with 200 high school principals to tell them about project management and provide them some training so they can take that to their students. So, and we also do a scholarship every year. So, always looking for opportunities to bring that to the Central Illinois area. So anyone that's watching, if there's any sort of education that, we could help with, or bring that to a school or a church or some sort of organization, that'd be great to hear from them.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, guys. Well, I know you guys have mentioned it a multitude of times in the episode, but where is the best place to find you guys online? How can they contact you? How can they learn more about PMI-CIC?
Yes. So the best place to find us is PMI-CIC.org. We have a very interactive website. You can reach us through there, the contact, and you can email us straight from our website. So we would look forward to connecting to you guys, and hopefully we'll hear from you guys soon.
And
Absolutely.
if I can add on social media, because we want to be engaged with you on social media, follow us, like us. So we're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And like I said, we're trying to get on TikTok. So if you type PMI Central Illinois or PMI-CIC social media, we will show up somehow in the algorithm. But obviously, like Pam said, our website, but definitely social media, because we want to be connected and be engaged with everybody as much as we can.
It's great.
Awesome. And like we said, we're going to have Florence back once she masters TikTok. We're gonna have Florence back so she can give us a master class on TikTok.
Oh, pressure.
Practicing her dances.
That's what I was saying. Doing the dances.
That's great.
Awesome. Well, all you listeners out there, make sure you're subscribing to the CIBL podcast on whatever platform you consume podcasts on. That's Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you're at. While you're there, please leave us a review. You can also follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook and now TikTok. And while you're there, you can engage with us and our guests on social media there as well. So until next time, Florence, Pamela, Dusty, you all have been officially civilized. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks,
you.
guys. Have a great weekend.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/CIBL Podcast. You can also follow us on LinkedIn. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It's the civilized thing to do.